Jeff.
Yes, ma'am.
While we're waiting, can I ask you a couple questions?
Sure, absolutely. Please do.
I'm sure you've answered these, but since we're getting closer, we're starting to panic a little bit. So just want to make sure that I understand. I've got the sheet I'm talking for Precinct 24. I've got the sheet that says drain the Columbia Swamp Precinct ReOrg slate, and we've got our slate, and we've got the committee, the executive committeeman, and we got the president and a first vice president. Does it matter if we have a secretary or treasurer on there?
You'll eventually need to get a secretary and treasurer, because those two positions actually do have some responsibility with the reorg that'll be in 2023.
Okay, we'll do it. We just weren't sure, so we'll get somebody through there. Now, the people we've got down as who have agreed to run as delegates so far, are they all elected at the same time? You know, in other words, is it one vote for my 1 through 7 or 1 through 10 or whatever?
Well, typically my experience is if you have enough people that want to be delegates, but you have more delegate slots, because I found out in our precinct, we have slots for 23 delegates. So if you have 20 people, then everybody wants to be a delegate, it'll just be a voice vote. We just approve everyone. If it's 25, we got 25 people that want to be delegates, then you'll have to go through an actual voting process.
Oh, okay. See, that really, the truth be told, we're just trying to figure out how to keep you from being a delegate.
Keep who?
You.
Me?
That was a joke. That was a joke, Jeff. That was a joke.
No, you're probably right. But we have some folks that are trying to bring the maximum number of delegates and then the maximum number of alternates. So they want to make sure there's not even a single establishment person that's an alternate.
Gotcha.
But I would highly recommend trying to fill up all of your spots, and then everybody vote just for those people that are part of your slate, just folks that you know or you're comfortable with as MAGA supporters.
And we don't really know in each individual precinct how many openings we have, do we, until we get there?
Yeah, it's on the front page of the packets that have been handed out to the ECs and or the presidents. But you have to contact them. They don't publish it. We've tried to ask for that. It's a mathematical calculation, and it changes every period because it's based on the number of voters, and they won't release that data.
Right. Okay. Question number 2. I'm looking at the tools package that I pulled from the website, and it talks about sample form number 1 and form number 2.
I'm sorry. Hold on one second.
Yeah. Hey, Jeff. That's
hey.
Those are the forms that we're going to be talking about and teaching on tonight.
Okay.
Great. Okay. Then I won't ask my question yet.
Perfect.
This is weird, but I don't know where I got this information, but I have all those colored forms, salmon, pink, blue, green, or whatever. Did you guys send that to me?
We posted it on the website. If you're in Greenville, we posted it on the mySCGOP.com/Greenville. So we were able to get copies of them when they handed them out last week. We had some friendly ECs, and we just want people to know what the forms look like.
Right.
They're really paranoid, and they're using this for
they are.
votes and steal the election, and Democrats, I guess.
Okay. I was right. There's pink, green, and I know there's a salmon. I guess that's a salmon. Oh, and a yellow.
Yep. And we'll talk about it, but just generally realize we've been told that what they're going to try to do is keep delegates out of the county convention. They're going to look for any mistake on the forms and kick you out if there's a mistake there. So,
well, the Diana Vreeland video was pretty cute, I thought.
Yes, ma'am.
Hilarious. I got the biggest kick out of that.
It's unfortunate, but it's amazing. Yeah, beware. We want everybody on the call to be aware that there's a bunch of fake news out there, and we're it apparently.
Right, exactly. We're fake news, right?
And what about the discrepancy with the $20 versus the $35?
Well, $20 is to go to the county convention. And then $15 is to have your name put into nomination for to be a state delegate to go to Columbia in May. So
Okay.
that's
So if they don't want to do that, they just want to do local.
then it's just $20.
Okay.
I think we're going to have plenty of people that want to go to state because we're allowed
Okay.
79 delegates. So we're
Okay.
encouraging more and more people. I mean, if you want to, it's great.
Yeah.
We'll come up with who are our top 79 and such. But we want to vote in a block for
Yeah.
this is a numbers game. Complete
Yep.
numbers game.
And Jeff, if I may interject here, I also heard just late this afternoon that on the state convention, they are seriously considering doing a virtual convention only,
Oh.
which is it's a way to try to disenfranchise a number of us. So we don't know. That could just be misinformation, but my source is I'm they're pretty accurate. So they and to their benefit, to their credit, they have been trying to find a location there in Columbia, since that's the center of the state, to hold one of these things. And they seem not to be able to find one, but I have found a hotel up here that'll seat 1,000 people. So if anybody's listening and want to get a message to Drew McKissick, I do know a hotel where it can seat 1,000 people, and they can come up this way for the county convention or the state convention. But hey, I know we're getting and everybody, thank you for joining. And again, let's go ahead and get this kicked off. Jeff has been really doing a lot of work this week with Olga, and we all have been doing our part.
Thank you.
And Jeff's going to start this thing off, and then he's got a few things he wants to talk to you about the forms, because again, I was told by my source they are looking for any reason to kick you out as a delegate. And if you don't cross your T properly or dot your I correctly. So we want to make sure that these forms, and by the way, for those of you who are here that are not in Greenville County, I know probably 80-90% of you on the call are from Greenville County. Your county forms may look different. Greenville has to make all these different colors, and but statewide, we understand that Form 1 is yellow and Form 2 is white on a statewide basis. But Greenville County feels the need to do all this crazy stuff because they fear us. And so, Jeff, I'm going to turn this over to you and let you start talking, and then we'll be filling in the blanks.
Thanks, Presley. And what we're going to do here quickly, I think we'll just go through the forms. We'll talk about. I think we've got the the normal agenda of what the meeting will be about. But and then really just get back into opening it up for questions. A lot of counties have already started having their reorg meetings. And we're getting great reports that there's massive turnout, which has been fantastic. And that's what's got the establishment in a bit of a tizzy, but that's what we're supposed to do. I mean, we looked at some stuff where we put out 2 years ago that what we wanted to do was grow the Greenville the Greenville GOP state convention or county convention in 2021 to 1,000 people. So our hope is we're going to have 1,000 delegates this time. So that's what we were committed to doing. We want to grow the Republican Party, grow the GOP, and if we can get 1,000 people at the convention, it will be fantastic here in Greenville. Greenville, just so everybody knows, we're up here in the upstate, but Spartanburg is doing a single meeting on Saturday. So they're going to have one single location, and then Greenville is going to have theirs on Monday. So we'll have a lot of clarity into that. But Charleston's doing them on a daily basis or splitting them all up. Anderson, I think, either had some last night or tonight and on Thursday. So every county is a little bit different, but Greenville is the biggest. So, I mean, we're about almost 10% of the state. So, if you figure out and learn the Greenville process, even though your county may be a little bit different, then you probably are pretty much an expert in the most complicated process that's out there. So, Olga, if you could switch to the next page. James?
Are you guys ready for a question when you get an opportunity?
I know you love questions, so if you want to ask one quick, we'll go.
All righty.
Go.
All right, here we go. At the end of our precinct reorg, it has been indicated to me that the chairperson will be sending forms out for additional people to register for the reorg. Is that legitimate?
Yeah, most counties will have, and I think it's maybe even required in the rules, they will have a makeup. So if you can't make your meeting, like if you're here in Greenville, you can't make it on Monday, March 22nd, they will have a makeup meeting, which I think is April the 6th.
That's correct.
You know, that's where people, if you're out of town, because there's no absentee, we can't even send forms to sign people up. They want you to come in because they want to try to grab you, hold you, and convert you.
All right. In lieu of a makeup, they're going to send out the forms, and then representatives will bring the forms back.
Well, if your county will allow that, I think it's up to each county how they conduct that type of stuff. So that I'm not surprised by that. Greenville, they want to make sure they see you and they vet you and make sure you're not a Democrat, because that's what they're accusing us all up here of being.
All right.
We're trying to turn us into Georgia. So.
All right. I just wanted to make sure that was at the discretion of the county chair.
I believe, yes, sir. I do believe it is.
So, thank you.
Now, hopefully, you've got a good chair down there. I don't know about Carlton County, but hopefully, they're doing it for legitimate purposes in trying to bring more people into the party, as opposed to subversive purposes of, I'm not gonna give it to the MAGA Trump people, but I'm gonna give it to my friends and some establishment folks.
Can you see my smirk?
I see it. I see it.
So
but you see what we're dealing with.
Can a delegate that's appointed at the main meeting be replaced at the makeup meeting?
No, once you're elected, the elected positions, once you're elected as a delegate at the initial meeting, the makeup meeting will not replace you. It will only fill up spots of it that are not already filled and completed.
All right, got it.
So if you've got 20 delegates eligible, but you only had 5 or 10 at the meeting, you can have 10 additional at the makeup meeting. If you have positions that are left unfilled, if you've only got a president, that's why we're emphasizing fill up all those leadership spots. And if you can fill up all the delegate spots, that's even better. And then there's no real purpose for the makeup, but people could become alternates. But once you're elected EC, you're in, no problem. But remember, and I've actually got a report from somebody from Greenwood again this week that make sure you want to fill the EC spot. That's the number one, the executive committeeman, and then number 2 being the president. So those are the 2 spots you want to fill, not anything else. Even though president sounds exciting, it's the EC spot is the number 1 spot.
Jeff, can somebody be multiple? I think we talked about this last week. If we don't have people to fill the leadership spots, can we have the EC, like if we get EC and president, can one or two of those people be vice president and treasurer and secretary also?
Correct. Yes. If one person shows up at a meeting, they're technically all the positions. So yes.
There are five officers in the precinct: EC, president, vice president, secretary, treasurer. So if you have at least 5 people showing, each person needs to take a role. If you have less than 5 showing, then 1 or 2 people can take 2 different roles. Okay. But if you've got, they really prefer, if you have 5 or more showing up at the precinct, they prefer 5 different individuals serving in those roles.
Well, I know 3 of us want to be delegates, but we can't, take
everybody can be a
roles.
delegate. Everybody can be a delegate.
Yeah.
Question.
All of your officers should be a delegate, and then all of your regular rank and file delegates should be there. So make everybody should be a delegate.
Question. I was unable to pick up my packet last week. Do you believe they're going to have them next Monday?
Jim, are you the EC of your precinct?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, which precinct are you in?
29.
Greenville 29? Is that Greenville 29?
Yes, sir.
Okay. They should have that there, or you can call Diane Mitchell and perhaps stop by and pick up your packet.
Now, she didn't respond too favorably when I emailed her about meeting her, other than the dates she provided.
what other date did she provide for you to get the packet?
Last week, I forgot the 2 days, and Saturday was the last date. I think there was Sunday or Monday, I forgot, but I was unable to get to those.
Well, this is what I would do. I would email her and say, Diane, I'm sorry we weren't able to connect. I am the EC of Greenville 29. I will be there 30 minutes early prior to ReOrg, and I will pick up my packet. My question to you is, where is Greenville 29 meeting?
JL Mann High School. Where are we meeting?
Yes.
I told her I was going to meet at the Hilton.
Okay, so that would be very convenient for you. Yes. Yeah, I'm seeing that. That's so. All you need to do is just show up 30 minutes prior to the meeting and pick up your packet.
I have another question for later.
Okay. Jeff, go ahead with the agenda.
Okay, and if you see the agenda there, we're just going to go through this reorg pack. You know, that's what they gave out to the EC. So the package that Jimmy's talking about that he wants to pick up look almost identical to what we're going to show you here in a second. So it's, you know, guidelines to running a meeting, the meeting agenda, the Form 1, which is your individual information, Form 2, which is who you've elected. And Olga's made this this point, which I think is extremely important, you know, especially here in Greenville. What they're trying to do, and I hate to have this jaded perspective, but you know, they're trying to congregate a lot of us at the Hilton as opposed to more convenient locations for us locally. You may walk into the Hilton and there may be long lines. There may be a lot of people, but don't quit. Realize if the longer the line is, the more upset you ought to be, and say that's what we're fighting against. That's what they're trying to do. That's how they're trying to quash the movement, if you will. So if there's big crowds, don't turn around. Just go on in, and hopefully they'll accommodate it appropriately. But I think their methodology is proven out over the years. So don't quit, don't leave, be persistent on everything you do, and understand. That's why we wanted people to know about this. So you don't get don't make, as I've always said, don't make the mistake I made 40 years ago when I went to my first precinct reorg and elect somebody who wasn't even there because I was supposed to. That's what they told us to do. And then we'll do Q&A. And James, if you can go to the next page. I don't know if we can zoom in on this, but this is the guidelines for running your precinct meeting. If you want to kind of see and get a good feeling about how the process will go, this is how we talk about it in Greenville. You know, the first step, you know, greet voters and give them the 2 papers, which is the Form 1 and Form 2. Fill out the Form 1, which is, you know, we'll show you here what the Form 1 is in a second. That's each voter will do that. So that form will actually is just how they gather your information to be a technical member of the Republican Party. Then there will be the credentialing, the certifying the voters. They'll check, you know, remember we've talked about it. Go to there's a link on our page to scvotes.org. And put in your first name, your date of birth, your county, and hit enter, and last name, hit enter, and that will come up with your voter registration information online. You don't need that little card anymore. Just print that out. You know, just go to the front page. That'll take you to Scvotes, and just go the long route, but just make sure you print that out. If you haven't printed it out, go ahead and print it out tonight, because that'll be part of the credentialing. If you want to avoid some long lines, if everybody brings that sheet of paper, it'll make it a whole lot easier, which James is going to pull up here in a second. It'll make it a whole lot easier for you that you can just say, hey, here's my form. It's completed. This is a printout of Scvotes. Because otherwise they'll have computers, but they'll have to look it up for you personally, and it'll just take longer and longer. So the goal is to get in there and get out as fast as possible. Run through this process. So the better we show up prepared, the better it will be. So that'll actually show your voting precinct and your certificate number, which is your voter ID number. And just go ahead and print that out and take that with you on to your precinct reorg on Monday or wherever it is, if it's in a different county. So James, we can go back. We will certify the voters. That's kind of going through that process. Somebody will call the meeting to order and take up all the Form 1s. So hopefully when you get there early, they'll put you through that credentialing, the certifying voter, give you the form, you can go ahead and fill it out. They're not going to let you pre-fill it out. They want to hand you a form because it's going to be watermarked and numbered. So we're not out there doing the Stacey Abrams vote harvesting, because that's what they think we're doing. But that'll be that process.
Hey, Jeff, if I may interject here, and it was part of the training that I went through Thursday night. When we get to Form 1, they will hand you the Form 1 and you'll fill out the top third. Then you'll turn it in, then you'll have elections, and then you go back and finish filling it in. And I can help walk through that when we get to it.
Yes. And then the next thing, there'll be just an invocation, pledge of allegiance, and they'll read the Republican Creed. And then there'll be a letter from the current SCGOP chairman, Drew McKissick. I think this is part of his, I guess when you hold the rules and you hold the power, you get a campaign for yourself right there. So they'll either read it or just hand you a copy of that. Then there's just a welcome to kind of let people know what's going on, introduce, talk about that's going to be election of officers, tell you about the county convention, just the basic kind of information. The next step will be that membership eligibility certification. That's the state rule 4C3. Just confirming that you're eligible. What we've been told is the only two requirements is they don't even have apparently good data on who. Theoretically, you need to have voted in one Republican primary over the past 6 years, and that's part of what that rule. Or I'm sorry, in this case, it's you would have had to vote in the June 2020 Republican primary. But what we've been told, and Presley was at the meeting because he's a precinct president. What we've been told is they're not going to even enforce that rule this year. That anybody that shows up, you've got your voter registration, you can be a delegate, be a member, join. But they are going to enforce a special Greenville rule that if you want to be an executive committeeman, you will have to have voted in 2 of the last 3 Republican primaries. That's either the June 2020, the June 2018, or the June 2016. So if anyone's out there, and it's been part of our emails going out to folks here in Greenville, check your voter information. With we've got some that we're sending out, but that's your call list, and that's got some voter info there. But that's just data. If you're really running for EC and you're really worried that you may not have voted in 2 of those 3 Republican primaries, call the Scvotes, the board of the South Carolina Board of Elections, and because in South Carolina you can't look it up online. Some states will allow you to do that. We're going to encourage the Board of Elections to have that information online, but call them up and find out. Ask them to print off and email you a copy of your voter history. And what we have discovered, we've got different people, they were surprised by what the voter history had. Maybe it was correct, maybe it was incorrect. So you have to deal with that. But that's really just for the person who's going to be in that EC spot. We actually had one person call up, and the Scvotes people had his name spelled 2 different ways. So because the first version they gave him, he had only voted in one election. But he was like, this can't be true because I'm a regular voter. So he pushed and pushed and pushed, being persistent. You have to be persistent with all this stuff. They found that they had spelled his name a different way, and that had all the voter information. They're now going to merge that file. So that, just be persistent. But if you're running for EC, make sure you get that right. They'll go over the description of precinct officers, which is in that big SCGOP package, that guidebook. That's also under tools. I mean, there's all this information. This information we're showing you is on the Greenville page, but we've also got it on that tools page. So there's a big SCGOP guidebook under 30-some pages or whatnot on the that has a lot of this information. And if you read that, you'll know everything. But it's under myscgop.com/tools. So there'll be a description of what those officer positions are. Then if there's a contested election, this is where they may elect a temporary chair during elections only if it's contested. So if the current EC or the current president has somebody running against them, it's only fair to have an independent or a third party be that chairperson. So if you've got a bunch of people with you, have one of your people run for that temporary chair position. as opposed to the establishment folks there. But I mean, that's what the purpose of the temporary chair. And then they'll go into the elections of officers. Now, what we're hearing in,
Jeff, can I ask a question? Is it the EC that's running the meeting?
I'm sorry, sir?
Is it the EC that's running
It's
the
the
meeting?
president that runs the meeting.
It's technically the president. So, but if the president is running for EC or there's somebody contesting the race for the president, it really isn't fair or proper for the president to be overseeing the meeting while also running for election. So,
Yeah, they can oversee the meeting, but they cannot oversee the election.
yes, that's correct. Correct, Presley. So, so they'll do that a temporary chair if that's the case, and then they'll do the election of officers, and that's where they'll go through the process. Who's EC, who's president, who's first vice president, secretary, and treasurer, and then they'll elect the delegates at the next level. But what we're hearing is some folks are saying, well, if we've got 15 MAGA folks on one side and we got three establishment folks on the other, they're not even contesting the election. They're like, well, okay, you got the numbers, just, I'm not even going to contest it. And you'll almost, go through that friendly process. But some are actually saying, you know what, it's me and my husband, I'm going to contest. And they physically go through the vote. So, we had one that it was 10 people, 10 MAGA folks versus the 2 people on the other side, but they made them go through the actual election. Yeah, it's hit or miss. We got 151 of these precincts in Greenville. Yours is going to be different than mine, which will be different from everybody else's. So just be persistent. Realize what the goal is to become the EC and fill up all those officer spots and fill up all your delegate spots. The next step, just on the agenda piece, is the election of the delegates. And we've kind of talked about that. If anybody that wants to be a delegate, if you're underneath the number, I found out we've got 23. So if we've only got 20 people there and everybody wants to be a delegate, then everybody's elected to be a delegate. If you've got more than those delegate slots, if you got 30, but 29 eligible, then you'll have to go through the election process of which ones are you going to pick. But I would highly encourage you, just focus on the folks that you brought that are part of your delegate list. You may find some new people there and especially if you get there early, talk to a few folks and feel them out. But also realize that they may realize you're the MAGA, mySCGOP folks and the Trump folks, and they may tell you something. I had somebody call me earlier this week, and Presley's the chairman of the Greenville Tea Party. I'm one of the vice chairs. And this person said that a Greenville GOP official told them that they were part of the Greenville Tea Party. And I'm like, I've never seen them at a Tea Party meeting. They are not part of the Tea Party, and they actively oppose the Tea Party. So, it's devious, but that's kind of what goes on. So you'll learn it over time, but trust what people do, not what they say. And that's why we're trying to educate people, because these are I see Mr. Crane down there shaking his head, so he's seen some of this type of stuff. So it's amazing, and you'll understand what we and what Donald Trump and what the swamp is amazing, because they don't have the same values that you and I do in the sense of not being devious and playing these games. Because quite frankly, they will literally teach these people this type of stuff in political classes or whatnot. I mean, I wouldn't tolerate it, and I'm not going to do that. I'd rather just be, open and honest and trustworthy, and just, let the chips fall where they may. But I mean, a lot of people have a goal of, oh, you know what? I just want to get elected. If I got to lie, cheat, or steal, that's what they'll do. So it's rather disappointing. But then you'll, it's the return of the Form 1s. You'll yes, sir.
Excuse me. If somebody is at the meeting that you don't want to be a delegate, and you don't have the full number of delegates available, are they entitled to become a delegate?
Yes, Bob, they are. No matter, I mean, that's why it's important. If you want to push those folks out, you got to bring more delegates than you have spots. Because if they want to be a delegate, they could cast one vote for themselves. So, if you got 20 spots and there's 15 people there, and 14 of them are yours, and your 14 people only vote for you guys, that one person can just vote for themselves, and they're number 15 on the priority list, but they're a delegate. So you really, if you want to try to push it, and it's fun to talk to precinct leads that are trying to fill them totally up. I just couldn't believe it. Somebody wanted to fill up all the delegate spots and all the alternates. They were like, they didn't even want to give them a shot. So, I mean, which is a good way to be. I love folks like that. So that's how that works. They'll rehand out the Form 1s, double check the accuracy, the legibility, make sure there's nothing on there. I mean, they're pretty simple forms. We'll look at it, but just double check it and take a picture of it. We highly recommend you to have a picture of it, and then take a picture of the Form 2. The Form 2 will be the form where they actually write down who was elected and who the delegates are. So get a picture of that, so just for your records. And I think Presley's talked about, we're sending out a communication later about, if all the different precinct leads will send us next Monday night. We're going to be set up down at the Carolina Ale House, certainly by 9 o'clock. And then we're going to kind of make a little command central where we will have different precincts sending us, either copies, images of their Form 1s. They can email it into the team at mySCGOP. You can text it to Presley or text it to me. We're going to aggregate all that data, and so we kind of know where we fall out. But the number,
we're going to go over that toward after this, Jeff.
Okay, be perfect. And then if there's any other business announcements, resolutions, that type of stuff, we haven't focused on that, but some people, you can submit a resolution, needs to be in writing and all that type of stuff. But our goal, because I can assure you, when we win Greenville County, we will be looking at a lot of resolutions and a lot of information and actually what we can actually do. I asked someone the other day, I personally do not know if any resolutions have come out of Greenville County in the past 4 years. I don't think they've done anything. So, Presley tried to bring up a Second Amendment sanctuary resolution maybe a year or so ago, and they quashed that. Now I hear they're talking about doing that. But I mean, there's a lot of resolutions, a lot of things we need to call people on the table. And I'm not saying in an uncontrolled manner, but they're not even pushing, the Republican platform. And these meetings they have every other month are just, social hours. And I'm like, we'll do trainings and have socials and all that type of stuff. I think that's fantastic. The party ought to be fun, but the party has business to do, as opposed to doing nothing other than provide cover for rhino establishment politicians. We need to be calling these politicians on the mat saying, why are you voting for this? Why, we've seen the example, if Richie Yao, the Republican representative out of Lancaster, who endorsed Senator Vince Shaheen in a video endorsement, that county ought to be calling him out. And if one of our legislators here in Greenville is doing something they shouldn't be doing, that's against Republican creed, we want to start educating people on that. And that, I think the fact that we would be active would get some of these legislators to actually do what they should be doing or what they promise they're doing in their campaign speeches. But when you actually follow what they do down there in Columbia, it's a different story. And then you'll just adjourn. The officers finish up the paperwork. If you're the new EC, stick around, watch them go through the paperwork. Take a picture of that Form 2, just learn the process. A lot of folks are learning the process. So this is where you can do that. And then what'll happen is the current EC and the current president, current secretary, their position is there until the county convention in April. So if you're elected EC or you're elected secretary, treasurer, or the new president, you don't take over until the county convention. So let the current folks finish up that paperwork, deliver it. Maybe they'll be friendly and they'll ask you to take it to the Hilton or wherever they're collecting them. But each precinct's going to be different. But that is their responsibility, and then you can pick up after the county convention in May. I'm sorry, in April. So James, next page.
Hey, Jeff.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we need to have some kind of proof of what went on that night? In other words, can we trust that current EC to turn in the right stuff?
Brenda, we're going to talk about getting that proof, and I'll show you.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
But that's also where we're talking about take a picture of that form too, because the form two is the proof. That's who was elected, and that's who was elected as officers, and that's who's elected as delegates. So that's what we want you to take a picture of. So the next thing is the meeting agenda. I mean, this is just, you know, on the left side, and if James can zoom in a little bit, it's just the agenda for the meeting. It's almost what we just went through. So a lot of this information is repetitive, you know, call the meeting to order, welcome, invocation, pledge, the creed, you know, the SCGOP chairman's letter, that type of stuff, and the election of those officers, adjournment. It's really, this is almost a repeat, but you know, repetition is good. But these are the forms that are in there. Now, James, if you can go to the other page, this is just a general information form, and it talks about the description of the offices and, you know, what those officer positions do, the fees, you know, the precinct to participate in the precinct. This precinct reorg doesn't cost anything. It's free, no problem whatsoever, no charge whatsoever. But if you want to go to county convention, which this is the bare minimum, show up at the reorg, and number two, go to the county convention. That's going to cost $20. So you know, just $20 to go to county convention, yeah. And then if you want your name put into nomination to be a state delegate, and we only got 79 of them available for Greenville, and as I mentioned earlier, I think we'll have plenty of people do that. It's a non-refundable charge to have your name put into nomination. If you want to do it, it's $15. You know, some people I'd say just pay the $35 and we'll get your name in the nomination, and we'll figure out our list of the 79 that we all want to vote for, and then our alternates. But, you know, but bare minimum, be a county delegate at $20. That covers the cost of the convention center, and I guess there's a little bit as a fundraising drive, but we need people to go to the convention. It's great if you can come to the reorg and place a vote and vote for your friend to be EC, but we really need 1,000 people, if you will, to show up at the county convention. So that $20 is really important. Then it's just a description, and then at the bottom, that's going to be a receipt. Now, sometimes they think they're supposed to collect this and take it back to the headquarters, but this is your receipt. So, you know, the treasurer, whoever's the current precinct treasurer, you know, will fill out the first name, last name, name of the precinct, and then what you paid. So this will be your receipt for paying your $20 convention fee and your $15 state delegate fee, if that's what you'd like. They're out, you know, asking for an additional donation. I don't think, Presley, they're taking credit cards.
No, they're not. And I don't know. Again, this is a state form, Jeff, to a lot. Yeah. Well, it's not a state form, but they took it from the state form. But they are not. I don't know why that's on there. It is confusing.
Yeah.
You must show up with cash or a check.
Yeah, if you have cash, and I assume, Presley, it's correct that if you brought a check, they're going to write it out to the Greenville Republican Party, Greenville County Republican Party? Yes,
you can write it to the Greenville County, Greenville Republican Party, Greenville County GOP. That's who you would write it to. And so I would just bring a blank check and let the EC tell you, but it'll be written out to Greenville County GOP.
Right, and you only need one check for the 20 and the 15. And I assume you could write a check to pay for friends, or what I do, I just bring cash. It's easier. I really don't want to give them a check and it gets lost or whatever. So I bring cash, and I bring some extra cash, you know, for friends that might be there and say, "Oh, I forgot," that type of stuff. I think years ago we ran over. We were actually at the Hilton at that time too, and I had Olga run over to the Bank of America and pull out $500 and 20, so we would at least have some cash to help some people out that had forgotten their checkbook or their wallet. So, but again, let me with stating about that wallet, print out that voter registration information from scvotes.gov, and then also bring an ID. So they're going to check IDs. They're going to, you know, you got to have an ID. You know, we believe in voter ID. So they're going to check your ID. So don't forget your wallet. I mean, I think you can borrow $20 from a friend, but you're not going to be able to borrow an ID. So make sure you bring your
that ID needs to be your driver's license if you don't drive, a state ID. Something that shows your address is what they're going to require.
And if you're fun like me, you actually show them your concealed weapons permit. That's an official South Carolina ID. So
it is.
I like showing people my concealed weapons permit as an ID, so just for fun. Now, James, if you can go to the next page, the sample form 1. And Presley, I assume this is the official Greenville version. Is that correct?
Yes, this is, and the colors are not exact when they scan in, but this is more of a lighter salmon color. And the first thing you're going to write in, there's a 9-digit, it says voter registration number. When you pull it up on Scvotes, it will say certificate number. It means the same thing, okay? But just print in large numbers there what those numbers are. Make sure your name is listed as your official name. So, for example, if you're William Smith, don't write Bill Smith, write William Smith, okay? And then your address, your mobile phone, if you have a home number. Optionally, you can put your birthday in there. It's not required. And then how did you verify that 9-digit number at the top? Was it verified by the voter registration card that you brought in, or did you go to scvotes.org? One of those two, and they'll check that. So when you first show up, they're going to give you that form right there, and that's as far as you're going to want to fill out that form until after the election of the EC and a president. And then we can go through the rest of that after you have had the election.
Question.
Yes.
On this form, I have moved recently, something like that. If someone moves in, there was a gentleman who contacted Jeff, mentioned he was in Greenville 29. I did a background check on him online. His addresses are all over the place, all over the state and the country. If someone is trying to be brought in, how do we verify an address that they're eligible to be in this precinct?
Verification they have is their current driver's license.
So, okay.
Or what it says on scvotes.org. See,
So-
James, I don't know if you can expand that a little larger.
No, I know what it is, but my question then would be, what if the driver's license and scvotes.gov do not match?
It's a good question. They may try to throw it out.
Yeah,
They may.
I would compare. That's why we think it's really important to look at that scvotes.org and make sure all your information is confirming back and forth, because they are going to look, we've been told, they're going to look specifically for any of these Form 1s that they can kick out, especially if they don't know you. So if
Right.
you're friends with them, they're not going to say anything, but if they don't know you, they're going to look for a reason to kick you out.
But this is what I will say. They do not have access to the DMV database, and people move a lot, and we understand that. So the official address is going to be whatever your address is on scvotes.org. That is the address you need to fill in there on that form. Okay? And that's the address you'll go by. Now they're going to see your name, and as long as the name of the photo match, and then you have your Scvotes, and because you're allowed a little bit of time, to 30 days to get a new license. So I would use the address on that Form 1 there as whatever it says on scvotes.org. That's the address that I would use.
Presley, what?
I work at the polls a lot, or I usually work at the polls, and we have a lot of people come in that driver's license is wrong, but their correct address is in that scvotes.org, and that's what we take.
Thanks, Don.
Presley, what happens if they run out of forms?
Okay, I pressed that question. For example, my precinct has 21 eligible delegates. They only gave me 20 ballots. And what Nate is requiring is that night, and what I would do is go print off a couple of these extras, print 5 or 10 of these and just bring them with you. But they are allowing, on a white sheet of paper, for example, they're allowing you to fill out this information on the white sheet of paper and saying, we ran out of Form 1s. I have whatever the number is, 5, 6, 7, and I have five additional delegates. You did not give us enough Form 1s. They were here tonight. We attest to it. And you send him an email and they will accept those ballots, or those white pieces of paper.
Well, that's interesting because Presley says if they had 21 eligible delegates and they only gave them 20 sheets, I can tell you Presley's, because I've seen the numbers or what. I mean, Presley's on a regular year, 2 years ago or 4 years ago. I mean, they have a lot of people that show up at Riverwalk Precinct, and why they're not. I mean, that's another one of these tactics. I mean, how much does it cost to give him 30 or 40? I mean, maybe it's a waste of paper, but I mean,
But technically, they should have given me 42 of these.
42.
Now, something you're not seeing on here, every precinct, you see where it says precinct, let's see. Yeah, up at the top, it says precinct. Just to the right of that, we blocked it out, but it has the precinct name, and they've sequentially numbered these things. That's how paranoid they are. It's all about control. It's not about keeping Democrats out. It's about keeping conservatives out. That's the real narrative here. So they know that so those sequentially numbered forms, they know that my precinct, Riverwalk Precinct, has been given, numbers, 1000-405-101-102-103 all the way to -121, something like that. So they've sequentially they've numbered those things.
Question. This Form 1 is for every elected official and every delegate?
Yes. Everybody, Jim, you were a Marine. Every Marine's first a rifleman. every official, every person that filled this form out is first a delegate. I might just be a delegate. I might be a delegate who happens to be an EC, but I am a delegate. We are all delegates. Now, I get elected EC or president, or I get elected secretary or treasurer.
Correct. What I wanted to verify is if somebody who was from the precinct wanted to vote for a new EC or another position, do they need to do this, or is it only for the elected officials and delegates?
This is only for the delegates who are in attendance that night.
Oh, this is only for delegates.
Yes. So what makes you a delegate? So for example, and I'm gonna break this down. County-wide, Jim, we are allowed 2,135 delegates at our county convention. Last year, we had like 580 registered to go, only 480 showed up. So we only had a fourth of the people eligible show up. This year, based on the numbers we're hearing from other counties, because of the MAGA agenda initiative that we're pushing here, and again, I just can't say thanks enough to Jeff and Olga for the yeoman's work they've been doing on this, because they've really taken the lead on this. We are going to max out delegates. We're going to max out alternates. It's never happened. Nationwide, there's only less than 50% of all delegates even show up. That's by design. The Republican Party doesn't want us all participating because they can lose their power very quickly, and that's what they're seeing this time around. That's why they're panicking. That's why they're spreading rumors and lies about us. So, for example, and I'll take my precinct. So we're allowed 21 delegates. I could have 50 people show up. All 50 people can vote for the 21 people, okay? But only 21 are going to be elected delegates, and only 21 are going to be elected alternates. The other 8, they're out of luck, okay? They just did not get elected. So, and in some precincts that they're targeting, they're going to try to send a full slate of delegates. So that's why we have to send a full slate of delegates. So theoretically, Jeff, you've got 23 in your precinct that you're allowed. You could have 46 people at Jeff's precinct meeting. And now we've got a contested race. If we have 23 and they have 23, and let's say Jeff wants to run for EC and John Doe wants to run for EC, Then Jeff and John Doe would get up and they would give a little 2-minute speech as to why they should be elected EC. And at that point, if it is a contested vote, the EC or the president should have some paper there, or make sure you bring some blank, paper out of your printer. Tear that paper into little, squares. And you only put out enough squares for the people who are eligible to vote. So if you have 12 people in attendance, you have 12 squares. If you have 23 in attendance, you have 23 squares. If it's a contested election, they will require everybody to write the name of the person they're voting for, fold it in half, and then you pass it to the center. And then right there before your eyes, the secretary and the treasurer will count the votes. 1 vote for Jeff, 1 vote for John Doe, 1 vote for Jeff, 1 vote for Jeff, another vote for Jeff, another vote for Jeff, another vote for Jeff, 1 vote for John Doe. And then the other 15 votes are all for Jeff. Jeff Davis, you win EC. It's that simple. They'll count them. Now, if it's uncontested, if you only have, and by the way, nationwide, only 4.6 people show up per precinct on average. We are allowed on average here in Greenville, 14 people per precinct on average will show up. Some have 25, 30, some have, 4 or 5. But on average, it's 14. But so you're allowed to, but if you only have a few people and you say, hey, I would really like to be EC, and you've got a lot of MAGA people there, and they say, yeah, we like you, Jim. We think you should be EC, and then they'll say, well, does anybody else want to run? If nobody else wants to run, then you say, I move that we elect Jim Bancroft EC by acclamation. All in favor, say aye. You don't have to go through the paper ballot vote. It's only if there's a contested vote.
Okay.
And Presley, let me ask one question just to clarify, because I'm a little confused on this too. But the Form 1, if you're just showing up just for the reorg and you're going to be out of town, you don't want to come to a county convention, but you're just showing up to vote for somebody to be EC, you get a vote, of course, costs no money. But do you also fill out the Form 1? I would think you fill it out too.
Jeff, that's a good question. I would think you would, but you just leave the bottom blank where you're not going as a delegate.
Right. Yes, you would just, and if you see in that big square there, after Jim asked about the I have moved recently, I'm really not sure what that means unless the map or the address and stuff isn't matching up, and they just want to acknowledge that. But I think if you just somebody just show up to vote for you to be EC and they don't have an interest or can't go to the county convention, they would just check that I attended my precinct meeting, and then that would be it. There'd be no fee collection. There'd be the signature of the voter, the secretary, the president would sign off, and that would just put you on the, I don't know what it really is, but the membership rolls of.
Well, they would count you as being in attendance and as having voted.
Right.
You need that. You need to fill out the form in order to have evidence that you are an eligible voter.
Yes. James, could you, on the square area here. So, again, that first third, up until that square, you fill in before the meeting starts. And then as you go back to the square, the rectangle there in the center, James, if you scroll it up, please. This is after the vote has been taken. So you're going to say, and here's if you've moved recently, you can check that. But you must, if you're there, I attended my precinct meeting, because remember, there's going to be a lot of people who go to makeup, did not attend the precinct meeting, and they're not going to be able to check that box. Okay? I was elected a delegate to the county convention, cost $20. I was elected an alternate to the county convention, cost $20. Now, why do you want to pay the $20 if you're only going to be an alternate? I guarantee you about 20% of the people who say they're going to county convention don't show up for one reason or another. They get sick, or they forgot it was grandma's birthday, or whatever it is. They don't show up. So if you're going as an alternate, you really want to be a delegate, pay the $20. If you don't care whether you're going to be a delegate or not, you're an alternate, then you don't have to pay the $20. But we want everybody really, if you haven't maxed out the delegates in your precinct, and you will only know how many delegates you're allowed when you show up and your EC tells you. They won't tell us. I know my precinct because I picked up the packet. So you check one of those two boxes as a delegate or as an alternate. Or you check the box, I did not attend my precinct meeting, but was nominated and elected as a delegate to the county party convention state rule 4C3, $20. That is for the makeup meeting, okay? And then the next box is place my name in nomination to be a delegate to the 2021 state Republican Party convention. I understand there's a $15 fee that does not guarantee a delegate position. Please place my name on the ballot as. And that's where you're going to write in your name. And again, if you're, let's say James Robert Smith, but everybody knows you as Bob Smith, put your name in as Bob Smith, because that's how people are going to know you. A lot of people go by their middle name. So you like, Jeff, your name is what, Ronald Jefferson Davis?
You didn't have to bring that up, Presley, but yes, it's Ronald.
Oh, okay.
I got a complex about the Ronald McDonald jokes as a kid, so I guess.
Okay, all right, we'll stop. But again, he's going to be now. If you put Ronald Davis up there, people are not going to know who you're talking about. But we know Jeff Davis. Okay, so that's how your name is going to be put into a nomination. And then it's very important. If you were elected EC, president, first VP, second VP, treasurer, secretary, actually there's six positions there, you check the appropriate box, okay? And then you have to say, I certify that if I was elected as executive committeeman only, this only applies for that executive committeeman position, that you have voted in 2 of the last 3 even year Republican primaries in my county of residence. Exceptions may be granted by majority vote of the executive committee for younger voters who may not have been of legal age at the time. Okay, but that's the rule that they're invoking. 2 out of the last 3 even numbered. That would be 2020, 2018, and 2016. Now, there were 2 primaries in 2016. There was a presidential preference primary, and there was a general primary. So you've got, in the last 3 election cycles, there's actually 4 primaries that you could have voted in. So as long as you voted in 2 of those, I think you're good to go. Okay, but you have to check the box and certify that. And then you sign it, the secretary signs it, and then the president signs it. Can you scroll down a little further, James? Is that the bottom? Okay, that is the bottom. Okay. And then the treasurer, whoever's your treasurer, make sure that they write in $20. Don't put a check. Don't put a check mark. Write $20. If they paid to go to the state convention, if they wanted their name on the ballot, write $15. If you want to donate, you can put some money in there. Total amount paid, $35. That number will either be $20 or $35 typically. How did you pay? Cash or check? And then the treasurer will sign it in that little box there. So this form will have 4 signatures on it. Your signature, the secretary's signature, the president's signature, and the treasurer's signature.
So are these signatures of the past delegates, or are they of the new ones?
These are signatures of those who are in attendance there. Whoever, now let's say the past secretary and treasurer don't show up. You're going to elect the secretary and treasurer right then and there. If they're not there, you will elect them.
Okay.
And in their absence, they will take over that position.
All right.
But in theory, the new EC, the new president, the new secretary, they don't take their office until the
Right.
county convention.
Mhm.
Right.
So, but
I
as
have a
Presley said,
question.
if they're not there, then you can go ahead.
Well, in my precinct, they're not even coming. So
Yeah.
I don't
We're
I
hearing
don't
a lot of that.
show up from. Hmm?
We're hearing a lot of that. Is that Mary Ann saying that?
Yeah, it's Mary Ann.
We're hearing a lot of that, and if that's the case, then you all need to elect somebody to preside over the meeting.
I've heard that we're meeting with another precinct. That's how they worked it out, because nobody there is going to know how to run the meeting. So we're going to have two different groups in one room.
They may do that. Where are you meeting, Mary Ann?
Woodruff Road Church, there at Bells Road,
Okay.
behind Lidl.
So my guess is that whoever the other precinct is, it's a seasoned EC or president, and they're going
Probably.
to come over and they're going to help you all facilitate your precinct meeting.
Okay.
That's okay. They can't vote in your meeting,
Right.
but that's okay. They can help you.
You know,
But
and Mary Ann, we talk about the worst case scenario because Presley and I certainly have experienced some of these things, but hopefully they'll be nice and friendly, and having 2 or 3 precincts together and somebody with some experience that may help you through. So hopefully it'll be friendly. We just want you to be prepared and be persistent. You know you're going in there to get EC and fill up as many delegate slots as you can.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so that's the Form 1. And James, if we can go to Form 2, there's only one of these. So this is where they're going to, where after they tally the votes, and if you saw on that agenda earlier, this is after the meeting kind of is done, they put all this information together. They'll list out who was actually elected as new executive committeeman, starting at the next county convention in April, who's the president, first secretary, and then the treasurer. And then they'll list all the delegates there, and they'll, just as a double check, they've added this year that slot to put the $20 or whatnot, or 35 if they're, I assume maybe 35 if they're looking for people to be state delegates. And then they'll sign that by the precinct secretary and the precinct president. That's what you want to get obviously take a picture of your own Form 1, but this is what you want to get take a picture of that to make sure names don't drop off or names don't get added to that between your meeting and when it gets handed into the party. Hopefully that won't happen. Hopefully they won't have a problem with you taking a picture of it. I can't imagine why they would have a problem, but I can imagine in some situations they're going to say, no, you can't take a picture. This is confidential, and people are going to use this to vote harvest or whatever. I mean, it's a little bit amazing, but there's going to be one Form 2. And, if you got more delegates, I assume they'll write the additional delegates on the back of the form or whatnot. So take a picture of that if you can, and Presley will talk about it. But this is what we want folks to send us a copy of.
Take a picture before you hand it in.
Well, but just make sure it's finalized. Obviously, before you hand it into the party, Jim, since you're the EC, you'll be taking this and delivering it up to the party. Either at the Hilton or the Greenville GOP headquarters, wherever they instruct you to take it after the meeting. But just take a picture of it, email it to us at team@mySCGOP. Because even though that's kind of a state website, we're running it from here in Greenville, and we're the biggest. So feel free to send it there. Text it to Presley. Text it to me. Whatever gets us the information, and then that night we're going to be over at that Carolina Ale House, kind of pulling all that data and information together. So we'll get a good picture of where we stand and what's going to happen at the county convention. Because our hope is obviously that we'll have 75% of the delegates going to county convention will be part of this organization, this group, and then it becomes a much easier process, because we can't beat them just by 1 or 2%. It can't be 49, 51. I mean, it's got to be 75, 25, and just flat overwhelm them with the number of delegates. So anybody you can get to come with you between now and Monday. Just, we got people out there. I know the weather was bad, but, call people, text people, talk to your neighbors, ask them to come, make them a hamburger or a hot dog at your house, or bring them a cookie or some donuts, and get them to come Monday night, and then commit to the $20 to go to county convention, because we need to have these sheets filled up as much as possible, and the such. So,
does the secretary fill this form out? Is that who will have control of that form?
Yes.
Yes, the secretary fills it out. You see, there's a place for the secretary's signature and the president's signature, and that form. And bring some paper clips, no staples, please. That form needs to be on top, paper clipped. Let's say you have 12 people show up at your precinct ReOrg. There needs to be 12 individual Form 1s attached to this Form 2. There needs to be 12 names on that Form 2, okay, along with the list. So if you got an executive committeeman, let's say it's Jeff Davis, well, then the first name there in the list should be Jeff Davis. Just you have to, those officers, you write their names once, but their name also needs to appear in those spaces where there are lines. Okay.
We had a couple questions, so we got 3 of them up there. They're waiting patiently. But Judy, do you have a quick question?
Yes. Presley just mentioned with a contested vote for EC that we should take, if there are 12 people there, we take 12 little pieces of paper and vote on them. Then they would count them. I guess the president would count them. I'm wondering, Judge Chumley said with the Robert's Rules of Order, we can do a stand-up vote. Wouldn't that be a little more accurate and better for us than to have them count little pieces of paper?
Some people may be intimidated. They may have 2 friends running, and they don't want to necessarily say to one friend over the other, I'm not voting for you. Now you can, or you can do a show of hands. But if somebody asks for a paper ballot vote, I mean, you could do a show of hands, okay. Or a stand-up. You could do that. But if you've got somebody and somebody calls for a paper ballot vote, then you need to do a paper ballot vote.
And we just have to trust them that they're counting it not in their favor, but in ours.
So let's say there are 12 people there, Judy.
Right.
So you hand out 12 pieces of white. Just take a piece of paper and rip it into strips. 12 strips. You hand out all 12 strips. Tell them to fold them in half. Get them in, jumble them up where nobody knows what. And then right in front of all 12 people, the secretary and the treasurer, or the president and the secretary, they're going to count. And they're going to say, Judy gets 1 vote. Jim gets 1 vote. Judy gets another vote. Jim gets another vote. Until you count all 12 votes. And if Judy has 7 votes and Jim has 5 votes, Judy, you are now the duly elected EC.
Well, what I'm saying is, how do I know what they're reading off the paper is what is on the paper?
Well, because you've got 2 people reading it.
Okay.
I mean, you've got a president and a secretary both reading and verifying.
Okay.
But Judy, if you want, I mean, have your person there. Have somebody, if you've got an associate, say, hey, I'm going to be a little nervous or whatever, but do you mind actually being
a poll watcher?
Person?
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
There's nothing wrong with it. I think what the motivation should be, there should be transparency, there should be election integrity, and I don't think they should stop your person sitting there, standing over their shoulder, watching them as they open it up and read that. They could sit there and say no, but I would hope and pray they don't, because that just causes problems. So
what if it was 6-6 and a tie?
You do it again.
6-6. Then you allow the 2 candidates to make, and this actually happened in Horry County. And the one lady said, look, who's prettier here? And she appealed to that, and she was trying to be funny. And guess what? She won. Okay. But if it's 6-6, those 2 candidates, they make another 60-second, 120-second little speech. as to why they really should be elected. And you have another vote, and hopefully somebody changes their vote. Now, if it's deadlocked after 4 or 5 votes, I just say you just got to write a deadlock vote, and I don't know
You
what
can always do a coin flip.
Yeah, I think it gets down to a coin flip or
Does it?
straws, that type of thing. But
Okay.
But I know Judy, I know everybody on this call is not going to take a risk of a tie vote. So bring as many people as you can find, and you don't. We can talk about the hypotheticals, and it's good to be prepared. But I highly encourage you to bring as many people as you can, and don't get caught in that situation.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question, Presley or Jeff? I might have missed it. I had to go feed the dog. For Form 2, is there only one Form 2 per precinct?
That's correct.
To be filled out? And who gets to fill that out? The current secretary?
Yes, the current secretary, or if the current secretary is not there, whoever you nominate and elect the secretary will fill it out. Because a lot of times people don't even remember who the secretary was from 2 years ago. Okay. So whoever, if that secretary is not there, whoever the currently elected secretary, they would be the one to fill it out. I'm going to step away from the computer for just a minute. I'll be right back.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What if there are 2 ECs running and one is for the rhinos and one is for the MAGA? So they're going to have 2 Form 2s?
Nope.
One for them and one for us?
Nope. There's only one, and whoever wins each of those races, that's who they put on there. So there's only one Form 2.
Oh, okay.
So it's whoever ends up winning. That's the people that they'll end up putting as executive committeeman, the president, or whatnot. So
okay.
Very good. We had a question from Anthony. You've had your hand up for a while. What's your question, Anthony? Well, how about Bill Coleman? You had a question. You got your hand up.
Yes, the state GOP rules say that the officers elected don't take office until the end of the state convention. So, did somebody change the rule or what?
I think what we've been told at the county level, it switches at the county convention, not the state. We can double check that, but everything I've been hearing, and I don't know the rule off the top of my head, but everything I've been hearing is they switch at the county convention, which would kind of make sense for county positions to switch over at the county convention as opposed to wait till May. But we can double check on that.
Okay, one more item. If anybody wants to make up some free MAGA cap yard signs to put up in your precinct to identify more MAGA people, contact me and I help you get those signs or tell you how to make them up.
Yep. There's nothing wrong with you can actually buy votes if you want. So I'm just kind of kidding, but there's none of that kind of political restrictions that go on in real election. This is just a club. The Republican Party is just a club, membership club or whatnot, and you can you have a lot less have a lot more flexibility in what you can do. So it's not, these aren't elected officers or elected legislators that are voting on things and have representation in that sense. It's just representing your precinct for the party. So Jim, you had a question, Jim Bancroft?
Yeah, I was going to save it towards the end, but I am moving in 3 weeks to a different district. If I'm the only one, once again, who's going to be the EC or running for anything in Greenville 29, I will accept it for the sake of voting in the right direction, hopefully at the state convention, because I will still technically be the past EC then. But after that, what do I do?
I think the rules say that if you're an officer and then as soon as you move, then that space is opened back up. So, hopefully, since you do know you're moving, I would hopefully get some other people, and have them set up to be the EC. Because I'd have to relook at the rules, but I think the rule is once when you move, you kind of lose that spot. Which
I have sent out more texts and nobody's responded with any profanities yet.
Well, you know, everybody uses different techniques. Get out there, knock on some doors, you know, see some people, you know, I mean, just, we're trying to, you know, and I highly recommend everybody in Greenville, and I think we put it in the email today that went out just to the Greenville folks, you know, just if you know anybody, I mean, refer them, get them in the system so they'll come out, you know, if it's a different precinct. I know we're all focused on bringing out people for our own precincts, but this is going on for the entire county. So any of your friends in any other precincts, any other neighborhoods, you know, on the north side of the county, the south side, you know, just refer them over. And, you know, and Mr. Bugos just pointed out, that's right. If you move, you're out as EC. So, you know, since he's got a law degree as well, I think he's read the rules and been doing this for a while. So, you know, when you move, you're out of the precinct, so you don't represent the precinct.
Okay, so then after next Monday, what's the next event in which the voting privileges of anyone I may represent be?
Well, Jim, if I may, you're still going to be elected a delegate. You're not moving outside of Greenville County, correct?
Correct.
So you still will be a delegate at the county convention.
Good.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, because then we can make our decisions on the reorg of who's in charge of Greenville GLP.
That will probably be left up to the new administration of the GOP, which I hope it's ours.
I hope it's a different one.
Anita, you had a question?
I do. Hi, Jeff and crew. Is there a way to tell who showed up at the last reorg meeting?
We have the records of everyone that was a delegate to the county convention from all of the precincts. So if you're here in Greenville, so what we've been doing is when we email out the voter, your call list or your voter list with the voting history, we've also been trying to attempt to also say, hey, here's a cut and paste of all the people that were delegates to the 2019 Greenville County Convention from your precinct. So sometimes it's nobody, sometimes it's one or two people, sometimes it's 5 or 6. So, but we don't have records of who just showed up and was not a delegate. So, you know, if you have a particular precinct, just, you know, if we haven't gotten it to you before, I'm forgetting what yours is, but
yeah, I've got it. But there were like only 4 people on there, and it's like the EC lives like 7 houses from me.
Right.
And I think she was, I don't think she's on the MAGA side, truthfully. I reached out to one of the other ladies a few days before, and she never even responded. And to me, no response is a response. And I have a feeling that, I mean, I hadn't been getting responses from somebody. Well, I sent you a response that somebody sent me from over the next street, and then they were confused. But I don't have too many papers, that's for sure. And it's like, I don't know if because they're old or what. I don't know.
Well, there's people, there's young people there. You know, I had a call with a gentleman out of my precinct. I just kind of, he signed up and I emailed him back just saying, asked him how he heard about us. And so he got referred by another friend out of a different precinct. He's like, I've never heard of this. He's like, I can't remember, he's 40 some odd years old, never heard of this. And he's like, you know, and he was so frustrated that, you know, he's been around doing this for years and he's interested in politics and in the party and what goes on. He's a good Republican, but he's like, he's so frustrated with what's going on. And but that was the whole reason of us getting this information out to people. Did the original video, did these calls, the trainings, is to inform more people. We want more people to know how this process works. But I mean, you know, find some people in the neighborhood, look for a Trump sticker on their car. I mean, you know, for anybody with an American flag, they're good candidates of folks to talk to. So I still have my Trump sign in my yard. So I'm perfect ideal candidate. So.
Okay.
So this is the Form 2. I don't know if there's any more questions. James, if you can go to the next page. That's just an additional time of the discussion of the precinct officers, parliamentary stuff that we've gone through before. Next page is just some samples of that. That was actually in the big paperwork that the GOP put out. The next page is kind of a checklist of things to bring. I think the main items, kind of read through that, but the main items: bring your voter ID and print out that form out of scvotes.org, and just be ready, with all the other things we kind of talked about tonight. The next page, there's just some forms in that packet. If you go down 2 more pages, James, to the SCGOP 2021, this is on our tools page. This is the very top of it. But I mean, this thing on the left, that 2021 Precinct Reorganization Guide, if you want to read this stuff and study it, that's what you read and you go through. And there's all kinds of information in there if you want to get into the nitty gritty details. And then James, on the next page, that's just your delegate recruiting tool. That's your drain the swamp, your precinct reorg slate. That's what you want to have filled out. So when you walk in that meeting, you've already got all your names, you've got all your people, and all your delegates. So fill out those first 6 lines, and then fill out, those 6 names go on the first 6, coming through it, and then just fill it out and try to pack your precinct with as many friendlies as you can. And have a good time doing it. And what we're hearing from other places, their establishment folks are walking into their precinct reorg and they see 15 MAGA looking folks wearing a red shirt or a MAGA hat or something like that. And they're just turning around and walking out because they realize this is a waste of time. But what they're going to say is, oh yeah, well, they're going to do it. And, 2 years from now, they'll all be gone. But I don't think you guys are going anywhere. I mean, what our plans are is obviously to continue with some different trainings, some candidate trainings, some political activist trainings, and then organize people so you're able to hold your representatives accountable, because we really don't want to get in this mess again. Right. We're in South Carolina. We think we're a red conservative state, so we kind of relax and think our legislators are going to take care of us and our GOP leadership. But you know what? The establishment sneaks on in there, and they mislead us. So we want more educated folks. We want people participating, and we want this to be a biannual thing where people are serious about it, as opposed to, well, we'll get bored and only certain people know about it. So
can't thank you enough, Jeff, because I don't know if you guys read American Thinker, but there's an article on it today called "The Sovereign Crime of Vote Fraud," and when I read it, it's just, you cannot believe this is our country. When you realize the coordinated effort behind industrial scale, what it actually took to pull this off, everybody should be upset about it. So it keeps a motivator. And I cannot thank you guys enough. And you have a tough task because, like somebody said, I've been texting people, but I think this is hard work. Most people do. I see honestly why the swamp survives,
Yeah.
Because it's hard, it's tedious. So I cannot thank you and Olga and Presley enough for doing this.
Well, thank you for that. And it is hard work. And you know what? We're doing it with about that much money.
Yeah.
Several of y'all that donated and the such. It was hard work. And I'll tell you, why we're involved in this because of school choice and what Republicans do to these special needs kids in the school choice program we have in this state. And that's our cause, but it's the same process. And we're going to hold these guys accountable for what they've done. These K through kids with special needs. Right. I'm like, it is sickening to me, and I don't care if it takes every ounce of energy and time and money I ever have. But I'm going to get to them. And I want the more people that are educated about it, the more they're not going to be able to pull these games.
That's exactly right.
School choice, it's everything. It's in all these different issues. Roads and taxes and the election stuff. We got election integrity issues here, and it's not just Georgia. It's here too. It's everywhere.
Yeah, I'd like to read that article if you could put it on.
It's on the American Thinker webpage. If you go there, and it's the one It's by Jay Valentine, but it's called Industrial Scale Election Fraud. Yeah, so if you just Google American Thinker. Yeah.
Election fraud.
Right, it's industrial scale. It's called sovereign crime because his whole point is that this is really a crime by the government because there are so many people in different levels of government involved. And so, and what it took to really pull it off. You know.
Presley, I mean, you had some things you wanted to close up with in regard.
Yeah, Jeff, thank you. James, could you, I sent over to you, it's called the Precinct ReOrg, the reporting instructions. And we want to be able to educate. We're going to go over this in fine detail on Thursday night as well. Thursday night, by the way, 6 p.m. at Jeff Lynch Furniture. We'll feed you a sub sandwich or a pizza or something. We're going to go through this. If you could kind of zoom in on that a little bit for us, James. So we've been preparing for probably 2 months now. We've had some really good turnout. And so we get there. If we don't get data after the precinct, excuse me for a second.
Bless you.
If we don't get data back from you who are in the trenches. We're all going to be in our own trench at our own precinct ReOrg meeting. If we don't get this data, we're flying blind. The establishment, they're going to have all these numbers. They're going to know everything, and we're not going to know a darn thing. Mm-hmm. So we need your help. We've got well over 100 precincts organized out of the 151. I mean, we're close to the total organized precincts with the whole county. So, you know, and just to all of you, thank you all for your hard work. And the key to this, as Jeff said earlier, it's going to be turnout. You know, this is where you got to run up the score. Okay, it's got to be a 75-25 football game. You know, where we really run up the score. Because if it's close, they're going to try to they're going to look for any way to throw out a few ballots here and there. But if we've overwhelmed them, they're not going to be able to do it. So we'd like to see 1,000, 1,100 MAGA delegates show up. If we've got 1,100 of us showing up, we win because there are only 2,135 allowed in attendance. So if you could keep scrolling down for me, James, I'd appreciate that. And everybody's going to get this email tomorrow from me, and I'm just kind of giving you guys a little heads up. As Jeff and Olga said, it can be intimidating. Don't let the long lines, don't let the large number of people, it'll get hot in there. You know, just make sure you dress in layers. Don't let that intimidate you. Just stay in the fight. You know, that's what we've got to do. All this information, for those of you who are in Greenville County, you can go to mySCGOP.com/Greenville. What I would suggest, the day of, a couple hours before ReOrg on the 22nd on Monday night, go back to greenvillegop.com/ReOrg. They are likely, there's several places that are still to be determined. We don't know where all these precincts are meeting yet. So go there, check it out. And if you're in doubt, and it says TBD, to be determined, show up at the Hilton and say, hey, I live in X precinct, and I've got my 10 buddies here. We want to organize precinct X. They may let you organize that night, or they may make you wait and come back on the 6th. We don't know. They're going to make it very difficult. We don't care what they do. We're gonna play their game, and we're going to beat them. Okay? So whatever we have to do. So some of you may have to show up on ReOrg night, and if your precinct is not organized, you may have to come back on April the 6th. We'll be there to help you. Okay? Get there 30 minutes beforehand. Just be there at 6:30. Make sure you've got your driver's license and that vote, mySCGOPs.org, the paper that you printed off with your voter ID number. Now we're asking everybody at Precinct ReOrg, show up wearing either a red MAGA hat, a Trump hat, a red shirt, red blouse, anything red, as much red as possible, so as to identify with fellow MAGA delegates. Okay? Now, they're probably going to get word that we put this word out. This is the first time we really put this word out tonight. There's probably a spy on here. But you know what? We will have some other ways to identify that we're not going to release right now, but other ways to identify. And you can just start questioning them. And you can ask them, you know, hey, did you ever show up at any of the training? Did you ever do this? Did you ever do that? We've got some newcomers, but you can question these people. But here's the deal. If you're showing up with 15 or 20 people and you're only allowed, say, 15 people as delegates, you're good to go. So, but I know some of you are having a little more difficult time in your precincts. I talked to a lady today. She's been working hard, and I looked to where she lives, and she lives in a really highly Democrat area, and she's only got her and one other person coming. I understand that happens, but we want to show up as a sea of red. When everybody shows up at the Hilton, I'm not going to be there, but Jeff and Olga will be there taking pictures. I want to just see a sea of red hats everywhere, because that will give us a little idea as to what we're doing. I understand the current chairman is going to have Nate Lloyd T-shirts made up again, probably. I think he may be running. He may not be. He's kind of playing coy. But, you know, we would rather identify with principles in the movement rather than personality. And, you know, he can have all the Nate Lloyd T-shirts he wants. But we're going to be wearing red MAGA hats, red Trump hats, etc. Okay? As Jeff said, make sure you have your slate of delegates already written out. Make sure they're with you. The best way to know somebody's coming to your precinct ReOrg with you is when you can see them in your rearview mirror in your back seat of your car. Okay? Make sure they get there. Okay? Fill as many as you can. And we want to do an MTR PGA, make the Republican Party great again. That's my little contribution to this thing. Okay? I got a typo there, I see. I'll fix that. Demand order to your meeting. If it starts getting out of order, you know, somebody tries to pull a fast one on you, you can yell out point of order, I object, point of personal privilege, clarification, please, etc. I heard today that when they heard that we were teaching Robert's Rules of Order, they really started freaking out. Because they know the rules. But guess what? Now we know the rules. And they can't pull the wool over our eyes. And you all have been through that training. We've got the Robert's Rules on our website. Go through that website again. Make sure, print it off a little bit if you want. Print it off. Make sure you know that you know what you're doing. But just demand, if something starts to happen, you feel like you're being railroaded, just stop it. You can stop it by point of order and objection. And that way you can get things clarified and bring it back on track. Okay, James, if you can scroll up for me, please. After the elections have been held and filled out correctly, everybody take a picture of your own Form 1, and then make sure you get somebody out of our group. Take a photo of Form 2 once it's been completely filled out. If you scroll down, please. Okay, so after the meeting, let's just say this. If somebody gets real persnickety and say, you can't take a picture of this Form 2, I want you to write it down. And I want you to write down, okay, who got elected EC, who got elected president. Those are really the only two things we need to know. Need your precinct name. As a matter of fact, scroll down a little further on number 6, James. So after the meeting, and we decided just to email it to our central email address rather than inundate my or Jeff's phone with text messages. Just take this, and this will be on the email that you're going to get from us. So all you can do is just hit reply, then fill in these blanks. Your precinct name. How many numbers of delegates were you allowed? And they will tell you that at the beginning of the meeting. How many number of MAGA delegates got elected? How many other delegates got elected? What was the total number of delegates? So if you were allowed 20 delegates, 15 MAGA delegates got elected, and 5 other delegates got elected, that should equal 20. Who's the name of your new EC and your new president? And attach a photo if you can of that form too. And then email it to team@myscgop.com. And if you do that ASAP, as soon as your meeting is adjourned, before they turn those forms in, say, hey, I want to get and you know, here's the thing. That photo is equivalent to a receipt. Say, I need a receipt to make sure that these numbers match up. Like I say, if they refuse to let you do it, just make a mental note of this, or write these categories down and fill them in, and then email that to us. Okay, because that's going to give us a good idea how we're looking. Now that doesn't mean that we're going to win necessarily. So, for example, let's say we have 500 delegates show up, and they have 400 delegates show up at Precinct ReOrg. Then they're going to say, oh, they've got us by 100 delegates. They've got 2 weeks, but so do we, to go out and try to find people to come to the makeup meeting on April the 6th. Well, guess what we're going to do? We're going to go get as many people again to go to the makeup ReOrg meeting, to pay their $20, and to commit to coming to the county convention as a delegate, because then we can do that. So our job is not done after Precinct ReOrg. We've got 2 more weeks. That's where we're going to be pushing through the tape. We've got 2 more weeks to really push it hard to get extra delegates. And we could probably find another 20-25%, because people are just not going to make it for whatever reason. Okay? And then, as Jeff said earlier, not too far from the Hilton, down Woodruff Road, the Carolina Ale House. Just show up there. They're open till like 1 o'clock in the morning. We'll probably get there around 9, maybe a little bit before. But that, you can show up, order yourself some appetizers or dinner, and get yourself a drink. And I know we'll be busily inputting this data into spreadsheets, and we'll have a real good idea as to where we are. Okay, and the key to all this, scroll down, is just making sure that we have some fun with this. They're going to get mad. They're going to cuss and fuss and storm out, and just smile at them and God bless you, ma'am. Have a good time. And because I want you all to come by the Carolina Ale House, and we want to hear your stories. I want to hear, what happened in your precinct. Because those stories can be very instructive. But that's all I've got here, Jeff, on this end. We'll go over this again with people who are coming on Thursday night. But I think we should just open it up for questions at this point.
I have 2 comments.
Yes.
One, I listened to 94.5 The Answer, and Nate was actually advertising the Precinct ReOrg. I heard his ad.
Okay.
So I guess he's publicizing it.
Well,
for better or worse.
Just with the palm card that Jeff and Olga created, 2 months ago, the South Carolina chairman of the GOP went apoplectic. And he said, the first time he's ever done this, he announced, we're going to spend $50,000 for Precinct ReOrg in South Carolina. Because he's scared. Because we are the people, we're finally holding our leaders accountable. They have not been accountable to us. Hey, if Nate's advertising for it, that's okay. We don't have to spend money doing it. Let him do it.
Right.
And
then I have one other comment.
Yes.
Before everybody gets off. The person in my precinct that's running for the EC, her name is Tiffany Cohey. She's 23 years old. She's dynamite. And she just got on, and Jeff, you'll appreciate this. She just got on Nextdoor like a week ago, and she put the event we had. We tried to have a meeting at our local church where we vote. We got donuts, we got coffee. We advertised. We sent the palm cards out. Only 3 people showed up: the preacher from the church and the associate preacher and his wife, and they are not in our precinct, unfortunately, but they're really enthusiastic. We got them pumped up. So wherever they vote, they're probably going to participate. But she put that on there. She's been active on Nextdoor, and she just texted me while we were on this call to tell me that she got bumped off. The woke mob bumped her off Nextdoor.
Oh yeah. They don't like politics on Nextdoor.
Has anybody tried to use their neighborhood Facebook page? Like, I'm sure Riverwalk has a Facebook page, and Stonehaven has one, but I wasn't sure whether I should announce it.
Yeah, Marianne, do you live in Riverwalk?
No, I live in Stonehaven.
Okay.
I would encourage you to do it. It's an announcement of an event that is relevant information. You're not promoting one side or the other side. You're just saying, hey, come on out and support the Republican Party and help grow the Republican Party. So, there's always going to be somebody that gets upset about it. I think Bill Coleman's been blocked for 30 days on Nextdoor as well. I mean, I fortunately haven't been blocked on any of that stuff, but I've posted information out there.
I was just wondering why we're all on there on the Trump supporters part of Nextdoor, and we go back and forth. We put articles, we comment. Why would she get bumped off?
Somebody just didn't like what she was doing.
Do anything offensive?
But any type of other outreach groups, I mean, I hear about this getting to groups that I don't even know how these things got there. As we bought 20,000 of these palm cards, and I think probably 17,000 of them are out in Greenville County. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we've got a great opportunity. We have to push through to the end. We've got a lot of people. We have people even signing up. The gentleman that signed up in my precinct yesterday, he's got in-laws and family members that live in our precinct too, and he's going to mouse. I mean, it was, one person that could turn into 7 in a few seconds, but they're out there. This is the final push. Let's just push through strong, and then we'll get through next Monday. And as Presley said, we'll focus on, once everybody's got their positions, it's kind of a little bit easier once I am the EC or the new EC. Need more delegates, please come on out, for the makeup meeting on April 6th. So it gets easier with experience. And I know some people are having a hard time with it. Some people are having a lot of success, but be diligent. We're going to help you, through the next couple, next 2 years to the next one, because we really want 2023 to be huge. I mean, we're already planning for it and looking at what's going on in some other counties and networking with some folks that did hear some misinformation and disinformation about what we were doing. I mean, they literally, some people have been told we're a Democrat, funded shadow group. That Stacey Abrams is in the state of South Carolina, and she's opened offices, and she's the one funding mySCGOP.com. So I mean, it is amazing.
I didn't tell you, Jeff, that I talked to Nate. I called their office, and he answered it on Friday. Answered it right away, and then said that he wasn't sure he was going to run again. And he was very nice, but he never sent me any information. Because I didn't say anything about MAGA. I just wanted to know who was there anybody in my precinct that was active. And fortunately, he gave me the information, and I called the gentleman. But he's not even going to be here. He's in Palm Springs. So, but I thought it was funny, what was I going to do? Show up if I was not with MAGA and got all this wonderful information? I wouldn't know what I was facing going to the meeting. So
that was the whole point of training people. And they said you guys are just, y'all aren't the good quality, Republicans that have been experienced. I mean, I don't know if you saw his email that went out yesterday. It's like, oh yeah, we want to grow the party, but we just don't want these new people in leadership. So just like, it's amazing to me. The video that they put out, Diane Vreeland talking about, I was a new person. I'd never been involved. And y'all probably saw that video. And Diane's a nice lady, and I feel that she's been used, but that's okay. But Diane was an elected school board president in New Jersey. How do you sit there and say, oh, I was brand new and 2 years ago, Nate welcomed me in and I made a mistake voting for that other guy, Presley Stutz. And I'm like, you weren't new. Yes, you just got involved in politics. So I'm like, you can't be an elected president of a school board in New Jersey and be brand new to politics. But that's okay. It's at our stage. I think the numbers are so overwhelming. Don't take that as overconfidence, because you always got to run like you're 20 or 30 points behind. And really, we have to overwhelm them with these numbers, 75-25. But it's not even worth our effort in responding. I'm like, every time you see some silliness like that, I just say, you know what, let's go get 10 more delegates. Let's get 20 more delegates. And it has encouraged a lot of people to say that know the facts behind some of these statements, that's so ridiculous. Nate Lloyd tells somebody that he was a bit, and maybe the person misheard. I wasn't there, and I don't have the tape, and I don't know why somebody would tell me this, but they called up and asked, is Nate Lloyd part of the Greenville Tea Party? Because he said he was part of the Tea Party. I don't know. We got pictures and historical stuff where Nate was a never Trumper until the day Donald Trump got, it was too late at the Cleveland convention. But I mean, that's not MAGA. I mean, not if you're fighting Donald Trump on the floor of the convention in 2016 in Cleveland, you're not MAGA. I don't care what you say, how many shirts you buy, or if you leave a picture of you and the president up for 4 years in a row. You're not. I'm sorry. I don't mind if you supported a different candidate and you learned and you didn't know who Donald Trump was and you kind of grew into it. But this is politics, and it's all about misleading the people in the center. You got some people that are always on this side, some people that are always on this side. How do you move the people in the center one way or the other? And a lot of it's about misleading them, telling them things. It's appealing to people's religion. I mean, I had somebody from Charleston that I know very well and trust very well, and I don't know why she would lie to me, and I don't think she is. But the comment was, the people behind mySCGOP are evil. I mean, literally the word evil. I mean, call me a Democrat, but I mean, you're going to call me evil too? So, now I got a call with those people because they were like, no, let me tell you who's there. And, I got a call with them tomorrow. But, that's what they were told. But that's
sorry to hear that.
Last minute, push people one way or the other. And a lot of it is done by deception. We're not here to deceive you. I'm here to tell you. I'm also going to tell you, don't trust me. Because if you trust me too easily, then you're going to get misled by somebody else. So trust what I do. Trust what Presley does. Don't trust what we say, but don't trust what anybody says. Trust what you can verify. Trust but verify, I guess. But this is politics, and you see it on the national level, and you see what these politicians do. But it drains down to the local level as well. That's what we're trying to battle, and I think we got a good shot at it. So I'm excited.
We're hoping.
Well, Jeff, we're almost at the 2-hour point here, and thank everybody for their attention. Does Susie, is your hand up, or is that?
I just want us to pray, because I feel it's very important that we ask God for protection, guidance, boldness as we go and get people to come and because when God was with the people of Israel, He opened the Red Sea. And I want a Red Sea moment for this country. Enough with the evil that's going on.
All right, Susie, in just a moment, we're going to check the last hand up. Judy, do you have a hand up, or is that an old question?
I do have it up. And by the way, I think her telling you you're evil is the same as they always say we're racist. So it's going back and forth those two words. But what I wanted to say, like the other lady had said, I want to thank you and Jeff and Presley and Olga for the amazing job you've done. I started out, I couldn't even remember those words, ReOrg. I didn't even know what it was. And we've all learned so much. It's just been amazing. And all the videos that I've watched, and you have too, I know, and you've read articles, everything says the same thing. What we have to do to change our republic and make it as it used to be and as it should be is starting at the grassroots. I just want to say that each of us are now blades of the grassroots, and that we have to be proud of that. And these blades will grow as grassroots. And thank you very much for all you've done for us.
No, thank you, Judy. We obviously couldn't do it with what you guys are the ones sitting on here for a 2-hour call. So the ones out there knocking on doors and contributed to fund this, not Stacey Abrams, but but this is not going away. And
no.
People know it. I mean, y'all are educated, and over the next, I thought about it. From 2 years ago, I've thought about, and I've talked to neighbors, and I've let people know what I believe in politics. It will be 50 times easier 2 years from now, and you guys will be out there bringing more and more people in. I do not want to see this happen to South Carolina or to Greenville. I don't want to see it happen to South Carolina or our country. And they have really woken up the sleeping giant, and we're just doing our part. And but you guys are doing all the good legwork and grassroots. So thank y'all for all of that.
Jeff, thank you for that. Susie, would you be willing to lead us in a closing prayer?
Yes.
Okay.
Heavenly Father, we just come to you and thank you, Lord, that you say that anyone that comes to you, you do not cast away. So you are listening to our request, and we request, Lord, that for justice in this country, for truth to prevail, for your protection as we go to our neighbors, give us the right words to ask them to turn their heart to good things for this nation, and to come and support this nation and protect it like they protect their families. Father God, we put our children and the generations that are gonna come, Father, in your hands. We ask your blessing over President Trump. We ask your blessing over Jeff, Presley, all the people, Jeff Lynch. We ask your protection over them, Lord, as we get into this. It's a spiritual battle between evil and good, Father, and they call it evil good and good evil, Father God, but you know, Father God, that what needs to be done. Father God, we want to do what's right for this country, and just your blessing as we go to the precincts, Father. Give us clarity, Father, as to what to do. Give us peace. All that nervous butterflies, take it away, God. Give us your favor. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
All God's children said, amen. Thank you all. Have a good evening. We'll see you Thursday evening.
God bless you.
See you then. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.